My microphone is on. I'd like to call to order the Kaiser City Council in regular session for Monday, June 19th, 2017, and ask our city recorder please call roll.
Councillor Ryan?
Here.
Councillor Freeman?
Here.
Councillor Reed?
She is excused.
Councillor Clark? Mayor Clark, excuse me.
Here.
Old habits. Council President Parsons?
Here.
Councillor Herrera?
Here.
Councillor Anderson?
Here.
At least you didn't call me Lori Christopher like a good friend of ours does.
Yeah, just don't call me
Would you
mayor.
please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. School's out for summer, and it's sunny outside, and we are here. We're going to get things done. We're going to start off with committee reports. We're going to start off with item 5A, which is the appointment to the Marion County Public Safety Coordinating Council. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney?
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor and Council. Under council procedures, the mayor appoints councilors to outside committees. Councilor Herrera was asked to join the Marion County Public Safety Coordinating Council, and so as a matter of due course, we just wanted to put on the record the announcement by the mayor. So that's up to you, Mayor.
Oh, and I'm absolutely delighted that Councilor Herrera put in his application to the Marion County Public Safety Commission Coordinating Council, and that they have affirmed his appointment at the last meeting, and then they asked that we also affirm his appointment being a city representative on the council. So I'm happy to do so, and thank you very much, Councilor Herrera, for stepping forward in this very important role. I believe we also have Chief Teague is also on the coordinating council as well. So we have some very strong voices for Kaiser and great collaboration for public safety. So thank you very much. That takes us then, additional committee reports, and I have 3 here. So I'm going to start off with Lori Christopher from the Kaiser Public Arts Commission. Talk about the Kaiser Culture Story Polls.
I'm watching that door because Nate's supposed to be, I thought y'all were going to get my little flyer, and so I don't have the dollar numbers.
Do you want to have
No.
Jerry Crane go for? Okay.
No, my husband's watching the baseball game waiting on me. So my name is Lori Christopher, and I live in Kaiser. Good evening, Mayor Clark, and good evening, City Council. Congratulations, Mayor Ryan, on your graduation. Congratulations, Shannon Johnson, on your twins. Congratulations, Marlene, on your marriage. Let's hope that they will go forth and produce offspring for you. So it is my pleasure to talk to you tonight about the Kaiser Story Poll Project. And this, of course, is the 2 stumps that we were able to hold off our city manager from cutting down. We're so happy that we were, because now, as Jerry McGee always said, every project has its time, and you have to wait until the project is ripe. Well, I'm finally happy to say it's ripe, and we're ready to move. And it's going to be a beautiful project. It's going to be very similar in nature to the way that we executed the mural, the community mural, with the exception of the community mural was the vision of a multitude of artists, community artists all coming together. That's how we envisioned it to be. This will be a single artist that will take all of the input from community meetings and then turn it into one singular vision that would be the artist's vision. So it's going to be much more like the Big Toy, where we have all original artwork out there, but it was all from presentations that were done at all the elementary schools with the school children, and we brought it to one cohesive vision. So that's what this will be. The timing, the reason that we're asking you tonight to, and this was kind of quick, is because we're applying for a grant with the Oregon Community Foundation. Kelly Wather, who works with the Kaiser Chamber Foundation, and she also has Grant Services of Oregon. She's doing that work for us, and the deadline is July 15th. And in order for that to happen, we have to prove that we have support from a number of facilities, and those are the project managers, of which there are 3. The first project partners, excuse me. One is the Kaiser City Council, so we need your approval on a couple of items today, which I'll detail for you. The second is the Kaiser Chamber Foundation, which is the 501c3 who's going to be applying for the grants for the actual execution of the carving itself. And the third is the KPAC, Kaiser Public Arts Commission, and they're going to be handling all of the public outreach and all of the community meetings that'll take place in our community center to get all of the ideas and visions for the entire community so that the artist can put that into one singular vision. So what we need from you tonight is to designate the art site in front of City Hall. So it's not unlike what you have done at the Circle and what you have done at all of the art sites on River Road. We anticipate, or we expect this to be about an eighth of an acre. That's what we figured out for the site where the two trees are located. So we're asking you to designate that a designated art site, and two, provide permission for us to carve the trees. So you have to say that we can carve the trees once we have that vision. We will come back to you, and it's going to take the fundraising part of this starts in January of next year, and it goes for 12 months. And when we input the grant into the Oregon Community Foundation, it takes a significant amount of time for that to go through the process. So we won't know till this fall or early next year whether or not we got that money, and if not, then it's going to require us to do some other fundraising for about a year's period of time. Then in January of 2019, we'll do some prep work. If there's any prep work that needs to be done, we'll do an evaluation on whether the trees are solid enough. They certainly are right now, but there is a possibility that in the future they could have to have those big, strong bracing like they have with the logs at Timberline. Oh, I'm on time? Well, for heaven's sakes, I'm going to need some questions. So we will need you to allow us to carve the trees, and then you need to agree to limited maintenance once the trees are carved. And what that is going to entail is spraying to keep the pests down, and then a sealer. And we anticipate that to be every 2 to 5 years. It's not really a science, it's more of an art. But we've worked with Greg Ega, who donated the pest control the last time, and he anticipates that it's probably 3 to 5 years rather than 2 to 5 years. And we need you to allow us to go out and fundraise, providing meeting space for the community meetings. We'll just need one of the smaller rooms. We anticipate there'll be 5 to 6 meetings, and allow staff participation. We've budgeted Nate at 6 or 7 hours a month. That's what he went to get, is the flyer, because I don't.
So we got the flyer. What's on the flyer?
Well,
I would love to see the flyer.
so what's on the flyer? Thank you for that question, Mayor Clark.
I know my cues. No, because the Beavers are playing. Is it? What's the score? 8-0. Go Beavs.
Okay, so,
11-1, update.
hey,
Yeah.
go Beavs. So, on the flyer, you've got all the information that I didn't have from the top of my head. Here's the project objectives. 2 completed pole carvings depicting community symbols. So I don't want you to get in your mind that these are going to be totems or story poles like you've seen with Indian reservations. These will have symbols that depict things that are important to Kaiser. So I anticipate that we'll see irises. I anticipate that we may see Thomas Dove's face. Those types of things. I would anticipate that we'll see rivers. But I don't know that yet, because that will be borne out by the 4 to 6 community meetings, where they will do exactly what they did with the big toy and also with the mural. Community members will come, and we've divided them up into specific groups. They will come and they will give us their ideas. And then we'll coordinate all of those ideas into the ones that have the most support, and those will be given to the artist to come up with one cohesive idea. So we'll have an at-large group. We'll have McNary High School students, elementary school students, and we recognize that we may not be able to get elementary school students here at the City Hall. We're prepared through KPAC to go to the individual schools if we need to, and we've got the time to do it. special interest groups, and this is such as tribal members, and then a final community charrette where we'll bring together some of the visions that have been turned in by the community members. Funding's not to exceed $75,000. Sounds like a great big number. The carving, the actual carving is around $25,000. The other $75,000 is for various items which I'll describe to you. We anticipate that we will choose our artists by no later than January of 18. They'll work with us, and we'll have these completed by September of 2019. So it's a 2-year project. But it's been a while, hasn't it, Chris? So we're really happy that we have a due date. If you go to the 3rd page, you'll see Beth Melendy, who is the chair of the Kaiser Public Arts Commission, is the project manager for this. She was the assistant manager for the mural and helped Jill Hagan, who was a Kaiser Art Association member. So she's the project manager. I'll be the assistant project manager representing Kaiser Chamber Foundation, but also who is putting up money. Also KPAC. So the committed funding, this is what we hope you will agree to. City of Kaiser is staff time over the next 2 years, 7 hours a month at $75 an hour, which is $12,000. That's Nate Brown. That's what he costs you. So he better, by gosh, be worth it. The land, which is an art easement of approximately 5,445 square feet, and we estimate that to be worth about $1,600. The poles themselves, if we were going to buy those poles, and this is why we didn't want Chris to cut them down, if we had to buy the poles, they're $100 a foot to buy that size, that big. So one pole is approximately 20 feet and one pole is approximately 25 feet. So 45 feet, $4,500. Continuing maintenance, we put a budget in there of $350 annually. Again, that's supposed to be every 2 to 5 years, approximately $350. The insurance, however, that will be part of the rider, and that will be for damage to the poles once the carvings are completed, and we put a placeholder in there of $1,000 a year. I don't know if it's going to be that much, but it goes by the value of the art object. So it very well could cost us $1,000 a year to maintain that. We're going to seal them with graffiti spray like we did the 2 murals, so that will help, but that still could happen to them. So you've got the timeline overview and you see the dedications in September of 2019. And with that, I would conclude and offer any questions or any answers to your questions.
Any questions for Lori Christopher on this? This is very exciting, and glad to see the trees out front are going to change shape in a couple of years. And so we need to, so Mr. Johnson, we need to take action on 2 items. Should we take care of that now, or would you prefer later, or have staff bring back recommendation on these items?
The resolution is attached in the agenda packet, so
Okay.
you can
gotta
take
have
it
those
out of
tonight.
order, or you can wait for that part of the agenda.
Oh, quite right. Oh, it's item 8B, so we will address it at that point, or we could
Great.
take it out of order. But we
It's just critically important that it's done tonight so that we can apply for the grant, and the deadline is 7/15, and you're the big dog. So once you guys approve it, then we can go to KPAC, and they'll approve it once you approve it, and then Kaiser Chamber Foundation has said as soon as those 2 groups approve it, they'll approve it. So we're really ready to roll. I really hope that you'll read this, though, because what is so exciting about this is pole carving is almost exclusively a Pacific Northwest art, and I didn't realize that. I thought it happened all over the United States. It doesn't. And so there's a little bit of art history lesson for you on the front page of this. And so this is going to be so beautiful in front of our City Hall for years to come. I think this is going to be a real legacy project for us, and it's going to be something we're all going to be proud of, and it's going to contribute to the Pacific Northwest art form that's so prevalent throughout.
All right, looking forward to it. Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a question. I think you addressed it, but I just want to kind of cover it again. For future maintenance, it needs the sealer, is that right? Or
It's
is
a
it?
pest sealer.
Okay.
A pest and rot sealer, actually.
And that's included in your numbers, right?
It is.
Right.
In fact, we've overinflated it because we put it in there as an annual figure because it's it's to be determined.
Right.
So Greg Ego, Rasmussen Spray Service has already done one application of it, and that was donated from him, and he estimates it'll be probably 3 to 5 years, but we're a wet place. If we have a real wet year, it might have to be every 2 years. So we put it in there as an annual cost of $350, which could or could not be fundraised and waived, but we put it in there as a cost. And then the $1,000 for the insurance.
Perfect. And, as a side note, I am honored to be on that committee. This is not a new project. This has been several years in the making to get it this far. And I know Chris has been very patient with us and getting, to that point. But I'm excited that it's very cultural. It's very much history of Kaiser and our foundation of, where we came from and the mixed diversity. And I think it's going to be just a great, great asset to the community. Thank you, Lori.
It's going to be killer.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, next up, we have the Parks Board report, and that would be Clint Holland. This should still be on.
Okay, thanks for having me here tonight to do the Parks report. We met last week, and I'm going to go through some of the items that we went through, and if you have questions at the end, let me know. Peggy and Jerry Moore were there. They're the ones that received the grant for the fencing out here, skate park, and the fence is all up. Went over and looked at it, looks good. And they were there just to thank us Tuesday night, for the Parks Board helping them. So that was good. There was a proposal for soccer fields at Country Glen Park. A gentleman by the name of Wayne Fry offered a proposal to create and maintain a soccer field at Country Glen. And he will pay for all the cost, and when we say cost, the paint, the stripers, do the paint, and that's a big job because they probably go through a case of paint every time they paint that. And the goals, he will buy all that stuff. He will maintain it. The only thing he asked is the city mow it. Now, one of his requests, which was kind of strange, was that he wants the park only mowed every other week. And the reason for that is because of the cost of the painting of the soccer field, all the striping that's done. So that's up to Parks for that. The Kaiser Soccer Club was there, and they want to reserve these fields. And Robert mentioned that decision has to come in front of the city council. And so I just bring that up, and I think Robert will bring that up at the next meeting. Okay. But they wanted to reserve it for themselves.
Well, question on that, be able to schedule games and so forth. Now, when they are not using the fields, that is a public park,
Right.
so that would not be closed off.
It-
That's how that would operate, is it not?
Here's how the motion was made. Recommend that the council allow Wayne Fry to create and maintain a soccer field at Country Glen and keep available for multi-use activity. And that motion was passed unanimously.
Keep available, what does that mean? In terms of the soccer club, because you said the soccer
That
club might be
everybody-
able to reserve it.
Wait, they may use it for their events, but then the rest of the time, my understanding is it's available for multi-use on a first-come, first-served basis.
Okay, that answers my question. Okay.
But there was a group there that wants to reserve it, and that has to come through Bill and for you guys to make that decision, okay?
I don't believe we have a mechanism at this point to do reservations for that park, or do we?
The parks rules state the Public Works Director will maintain a list of reservable areas. So I have the authority to add or delete. Currently, we have the soccer field at Claggett is the only really reservable sports facility within the park system. And I'll be real honest with the council, I'm gonna think long and hard about reserving a soccer field at Country Glen Park because it's a parking issue. If you schedule games there all day long, the neighborhood's going to be overrun with vehicles, and I'm not sure that's what we want to do, but something I want to really consider hard. If it's one game, that's one thing, but if it's a Saturday full of games, back to back to back, parking will be a problem. So,
Okay.
something to consider.
Okay, next subject, the naming of the volleyball courts. I was asked to meet with Hans, and I did. We actually postponed this till the next meeting. Hans wants to talk to his wife first, then get back to me, and we'll send something to Debbie so she's got a copy of it. But he also wants to put on that same sign the sponsors, which I think is a good idea. People that helped him develop and build that, you know, like Jerry Nutbrock, Randy Miller, whoever else did a lot of work up there. So I didn't see any problems, but I said it has to come back to the Parks Board and then to the City Council. Splash fountains, everybody knows the splash fountain's open. Talked to Robert today about it, and it'll only be open on days that the weather is 75 degrees plus. Is that right, Bill? Okay, Kaiser Rapids Park, Marion County Juvenile Department has been cutting the filbert trees and removing the wood. My understanding, the trees will all be gone before the eclipse. Is that right? Okay, but we will not have the permanent bathrooms in by the time the eclipse is here.
Okay.
Volleyball shelter, I've talked to Hans about that a couple times, and there's a group of people trying to raise the money, and they're hoping to get this done right away because they want to get this built right away. So that's basically what we've been talking about. I do want to make a quick report because this week we are going to open the free summer concert series, and we got a big array this year, probably the best we've ever had. We're trying to look for some diversification. Roland and I have been trying to find some good Mexican bands to have, and I haven't done that yet, but we got a Cuban band that's going to start the season this Saturday. We're going to do a big Hawaiian luau, Johnny Limbo and the Lugnuts, which is one of the most popular ones, and Homegrown Theater is going to be there again this year, 4 days, and if you've not been to Romeo and Juliet, the performance they put on, it is fabulous. They have great crowds out there, so it's a great event. Brady Gauss is going to be back. One of my favorites. Harvest Gold, which is Neil Young tribute. Salem Bowie tribute we're going to have this year, the Severn Sisters. We're partnering with Uptown Music. This year, over the past years, they've had events there with talent that they have. And eventually we're trying to do a deal, I don't know if it'll happen next year or partly this year, but Kaiser has talent because we're going through screening of a lot of talent at Homegrown Theater right now, or Uptown Music, excuse me. Solar Eclipse, Psychobilly, Roland, a bunch of city council members have asked me about Psychobilly. We have them Friday night. Saturday night, we have one of the biggest bands, Ty Curtis. Sunday, we have David Klinkenberg, which is a paid event, but then he's also going to stay the next day, and that'll be a free event that morning till the solar eclipse happens, okay? And he plays once in a while with Pink Martini. He plays on cruises. He's very good violinist. One of the biggest bands we have every year is back, Patrick Lamb. And on September 2nd, if you have not been to Paradise of Samoa, it doesn't get any better than what they perform there. It is a great event, and I can't say enough for the job that they do and a great feed. And we're going to end the season with JFK, which is the biggest band that we had last year. We were hoping for 800 people, and we had 1,300 people show up for that event. It was huge, but boy, do they do a great performance. So anyway, that's the lineup for this coming year, and we start this Saturday. Does anybody have any questions on anything?
Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the eclipse, how many reservations do you have?
I'm not sure, but the last I heard was just under 50.
Okay. And did you reserve porta potties?
I have the porta potties reserved.
Long time ago. Those
I
were
had to,
locked in.
I had to cancel a bunch of them though, because somebody reserved, plus what we reserved 18 of them. And you gotta remember, we got RVs, and it's not like a concert where there's a lot of drinking and stuff going on. And there's RVs. I am trying to work a deal with Ace that they come through there at night. We have certain nights that come through there, and if they want to empty their RVs, there'll be a charge, and those guys will do that every night for those people that want that. If not, you know what's going to end up happening if we don't do that. So we've got, let's see, 6, 4, we had 10, then plus what's over at the dog. So we got 12 porta potties that would be out there and 2 cleaning stations, plus the permanent one that's down by the boat ramp.
Great, thank you.
Okay?
Councilor Herrera, you had a
Thank you,
question?
Madam Mayor. Hey, Clint, first of all, thanks for the great job you do every year out there. It really helps bring a lot of people together. My question is, do you need more volunteers this year? Or do you need to call out for
Al-
volunteers? or-
Always need volunteer. Even get the mayor once in a while to
This
come
would
out
be a
and
good
help.
time to contact you for,
I need good cooks too.
oh, you're a good cook,
Yeah.
yeah. Seems like you
We're
always have the
gonna-
same 3 people there every year.
Yeah, we're gonna need some help because we're gonna be doing breakfast in the morning, lunch, and dinner. And we're not doing the hamburgers and hot dogs type stuff. We're gonna be doing, Nathan Bauer's gonna help on tri-tips steaks
Whoa,
and
tacos?
fried chicken. Just a little of everything we're gonna be trying to do.
Okay.
But we got a big cooker for that, and we're looking to partner with Scott to also be out there. So we'll have a lot of coverage for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
So the reservations are, that's less than half, is that correct?
No, it's
So-
need 169.
Oh, so about a
That's what we
third.
want,
I don't know how many we have actually. They're coming in every day. I haven't counted them.
right?
Okay. But there was an interview that was done on K2 News about the Eclipse events, and did create a post on for my Facebook page. It's going to pop up later this week. But with the Eclipse and great events like this going to happen out at the Kaiser Rapids Park, I'm really encouraging people who live here to kind of stock up. This is going to be a very big weekend. You know, when you have, a big family reunion and everybody comes into town, yeah, multiply that. So we're really encouraging people, be prepared, have food. If there's, don't let things run short, because with all those visitors here, they're going to be shopping at our stores, buying gas at our gas stations. They're going to be, be guests in our community, but we could run out. There could be shortages, so we're encouraging people, stock up in advance, be ready, and then just have a really good time in Kaiser and the Salem area that weekend. But their emergency planning is taking this very, very seriously. When you have that many people coming for an event like this, there's a lot of advanced planning going on, a little tip of the iceberg here with the great work happening down at Kaiser Rapids. But I really want to encourage people, please take the moment, take some time, be prepared for that weekend so we can all have a great time together. So, Councilor Ryan.
Thank you. And just off of that, I know on top of the emergency management, which I was going to mention, they're on high alert, and they're saying to fill your gas tanks so that you don't need to buy, if you're local, you don't need to buy gas. But something that's kind of a marketing idea for you is I'm hearing a lot of people that the coast is going to be, they think it'll be socked in. So that will drive them back this way, and that might be an opportunity for you to to fill up the park with people coming back from the coast that couldn't see it over there. So just a thought for you, because I think not only will we be full, but I think we're going to get a back flow from the coast. So,
Yeah, and if anybody's got recommendations of things to do, call me or call Marlene. We do have the lighting taken care of. Tom Shue, if you've ever seen these great big, not blaring lights, but they use them for highways in some states, and he's going to furnish the lighting for there. So.
Those are great. All right, looking forward to a great weekend, a great summer. So Saturday night out at Kaiser Rapids, the amphitheater for the
Right.
first concert.
Cuban
All right.
band.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jerry Crane, come on down. Report from the Planning Commission.
My name's Jerry Crane. I live in Kaiser. My report's not as exciting as the first two you've heard already. The Planning Commission met on June 14th, and we discussed in particular Section 2.303, which deals with off-street parking and loading. Now, it was, hold back your excitement, it was interesting. And at the end, we decided to recommend the council accept the proposed amendments to Section 2.03, which will come to you. We took out some ambiguous language, basically. And there are like 3 changes suggested by the commission. That's it.
The very short report of a lot of detail that goes into working on our development code. And I wanted to say again, thank you to the work that you and your fellow commissioners do. We have seen time and time again, sometimes it's those details that make a very, really big difference. So we really
It
appreciate
surprises me how much people can get excited about those details.
Well, just parking in general. People get a little excited.
6 inches.
2.303 is big
Yeah.
stuff, man.
I mean, I'm telling you, I was a little bit worried that we were going to cause some problems with a couple of feet of parking, but you know, we all worked it out. It just showed how bipartisan support can come together.
All right.
An example for others.
We're leading the way. Are there any questions for Jerry Crane? All
And I
right.
will give you a heads up about your eclipse because the food side of it, I have an idea about how that works. There are companies already allocating everything. Bottled water will go through the roof. So if you're telling people to stock up, I would fill my garage full of whatever you might need because going to the store will not be fun at the slightest. And even the big companies like Cisco are already meeting and saying, if you're going to order it, I have to put my order in now and tell them how much I'm going to want and how many semi-trailers I want now. So it will be interesting.
So, good advice. Yes, it will be. Oh, Councilor Ryan has a question?
Can you just share with us real quick what you're doing at the volcanoes for the event, please?
Why, of course I can.
Thank you.
There's a 3-day brew fest starting that Friday. We'll be going all day long with fun, festivities, and frolicking around the beverages and food, of course. There will be different food items offered than we've ever had before. I'm thinking Louisiana Cajun style especially, just because I like to eat that. That Monday morning, right now, we're anticipating about a 2,000-person breakfast. And that will start at 6 a.m. And please don't talk to me for that entire weekend because I won't sleep. And then that will lead right into the first baseball game ever being paused for a solar eclipse. So there may be another one that day, but we will be the first ever. And it's, I believe they're conservatively estimating, based on ticket sales now, 6,000 plus people or more. So it's, and the other things, everyone else I've seen talking about the highway conditions, the self-service, it's just a tad crazy. But it will be interesting.
Yep.
Well, the totality is a little over 2 minutes. I have a feeling, what's that?
2 minutes, 10 seconds.
Yeah. So I have a feeling we're going to, according to minor league baseball, we're going to be paused for 5 to 10 minutes. It might accidentally happen. It's more like 30 to 40. Yeah. I have some inkling that it might happen longer. But there will be some, you know, I know NASA's going to be somewhere. I mean, I think they're at the fairgrounds, and they're also talking to us about being there, and it'll be quite the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal.
A microphone. I don't think we can hear you, Amy. Yeah, bring that it
Sorry.
closer. Thanks.
Are tickets more expensive than a normal game? Do you know the ticket
Why,
price?
of course they are.
Sure. Do they include breakfast?
You can get packages. The way they were doing it, they marked up that ticket for that game, but then on some of the packages, you get another game automatically in that weekend, which I believe includes the Brewfest. So it's a good value.
Great.
There are packages that do include the breakfast. The breakfast is $10, and right now it's an all-you-can-eat
That's the best
smorgasbord. So it's like, I think I'm looking at 5 entrees, 6 sides,
And game time is what time Monday?
9 o'clock.
9 a.m. I'll get that posted as
Yeah,
well. Thank you.
9 a.m., bright and early.
Bright and then not bright.
Right, so I'm hoping everyone's gone home by 2 p.m. so I can go pass out. Fine with me. I'll sleep in the dugout again.
We want to keep them there for a little while everybody else kind of does their thing, and then after the game, they can actually get there from here. Yeah, we hope. So anyway, thank you very much, and another great summer event coming up. All right. That takes us then to public testimony. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have two public hearings scheduled tonight. One is extending the consortium of cooperation agreement with the City of Salem for the Housing Community Development Action Plan. And then the other is on the Development Code, another scintillating portion regarding mobile food vendors. So if anybody wants to speak to something other than that? We good? Okay. Then we'll go on to those public hearings, and we'll start off with item 7A, which is authorizing the city manager to send a letter extending the consortium cooperation agreement for 3 years. Then another resolution adopting the Housing and Community Development Action Plan, 1-year use of funds, Salem and Kaiser 2017-2018. And a third resolution, this is a package, adopting the Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan 2015 to 2019. And I will open the public hearing. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney.
Thank you, Chris. Madam Mayor and Council, you might remember last meeting we had staff from the City of Salem come and give a presentation regarding the home program and the documents that were in that last meeting. So tonight, what we have is a public hearing to see if there's anybody out there that wants to comment on that, and then any questions from council. And then the recommendation is to adopt a resolution to authorize the city manager to extend the agreement for 3 years, to approve the 1-year action plan, the 2017-2018 annual action plan, and then a resolution for the 2015-2019 consolidated plan, the 5-year plan for CDBG, which I believe stands for Community Development Block Grants, and the Home Funds, which is a weird acronym that doesn't line up with the letters, Home Investment Partnership Program. In any event, those documents I did not add to the packet, and I think I mentioned that they were in the previous packet, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff on this matter? Seeing none, I do not have anybody signed up for public testimony on this issue. Does anybody like to speak to this issue? All right, seeing none, close the public hearing. Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017 authorizing the city manager to send a letter extending consortium cooperation agreement for 3 years.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017 authorizing the city manager to send a letter extending consortium cooperation agreement for 3 years. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017 adopting the Housing and Community Development Action Plan, 1-year use of funds, Salem and Kaiser 2017-2018.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017 adopting the Housing and Community Development Action Plan, 1-year use of funds, Salem and Kaiser 2017-2018. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with 1 absent. Item 7, or not, so, the next one. Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017 adopting the Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan 2015 to 2019.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017 adopting the Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan 2015 to 2019. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with 1 absent. That takes us to item 7B, and this is two ordinances regarding the mobile food vendor permit process, or mobile food vendors and the permit process. So I'll open the public hearing. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Brown.
I just get all the very exciting things. So this is, as you recall, you passed an ordinance last year establishing the ability to have a mobile food unit in the CG zone. We had a mobile food unit that was established, and we learned through that experience that our ordinance was actually kind of lacking in some areas as far as the issues that arose because of that placement. So this issue now is before you to correct those things, to strengthen and clarify that ordinance. In your packet, it occupies a whole lot of pages. There's not a lot on those pages that has changed. It's because we are now proposing to introduce it into all the commercial zones to allow them under the conditions established by the ordinance. And there were specifically a few things, 7 things that were strengthened in that. One is the previous ordinance would require that they had to demonstrate to the city how much parking they actually needed. We felt it would be better to actually require a minimum of 2 stalls. We also clarified the sign provisions that are allowed with the mobile food vendors. We are now prohibiting outdoor storage regardless of how they screen it or how, whatever they do with it. So that is now, and this proposal is now proposed to be prohibited in any case. We would then allow a temporary covered eating space if they so chose. It's not a requirement, but it is permissive. If they choose to cover an eating space, that would be allowed. Otherwise, no other structures are allowed. So for the pods that, as you may recall, if you have more than 2 mobile food vendors on one lot, then you have the requirement to have certain conditions. We call them pods. And so basically there's some additional clarifying language as to what that then kicks in, what is required of that covered eating area. The hours of operation is clarified. We also then are saying that if you are not open for business for more than 4 consecutive days, that they must be removed from the site. The concern is you can't just it's cheaper for you to get a permit for a mobile food vendor and just simply store it on a site than it is to pay for storage. So obviously we want these to be used and we want them to be active, and if you're not using them, then they need to be removed. And then the 7th item was, we're proposing that the drive-through window as part of a mobile food vendor would be prohibited. Basically, people have to get out, engage with the community, and put their feet on the ground of the community kind of thing. So typically what you would see is that you would direct staff to prepare an ordinance to come back. However, because the summer is now upon us, our weather is here, it's lovely, we have prepared the ordinance for you, and so we are recommending to you that you open the public hearing and take testimony, and then close the public hearing, deliberate the matter, and then adopt the attached ordinances, which have already been prepared.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff? Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Nate, just real quick, feet on the ground, going to the window. So does that eliminate maybe a coffee place that has a drive-up window? They have to park and get out. They're not allowed to drive up. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if a vendor is set up for drive-up, they have to, they'll know, but they'll know they can't just pull up. They'll be
That's
set
correct.
up for that. Is that right? And the purpose of that was?
Well, so with the establishment of our drive-through establishments that we have everywhere, we felt that it was more appropriate to basically require that if you're doing a mobile food, remember, these are by permanent these are allowed to be there forever. And i- if they have paid system development charges, for example, it's only because the overall development has paid those. They're not assessed the same system development charges as are others. And drive-through establishments pay a boatload of transportation system development charges.
It's a great explanation. I just wanted to be able to explain it if I was asked. Thank you very much.
And then I had one question, just to follow up. It was on the permanent covered eating areas. So with the pod, the idea, based on the whole idea of having a food pod, this is a permanently developed location. Carts may come and go, but this space has been actually designed and planned to bring in a certain number, or up to a certain number of food carts, and be able to have them operate. But then when they go away, that space is still designated for that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So it's not like I get 3 or 4 food carts together for one weekend, and then they're out of there. We're not saying you have to build a permanent structure for that.
And assuming assuming is a perfect congruence of all those conditions, they don't displace parking and all of that, they can still do that for a weekend under a temporary business. So we're not allowing somebody to come in on a very temporary situation, a fundraiser or an Iris festival or whatever it may be. That opportunity is still there without having to meet these requirements. Remember, this is to establish the ability to locate there on essentially a permanent basis. Over 90 days.
Okay, and then it's not saying that those particular carts will be there the whole time, but they can house up to or accommodate up to a certain number of carts. They can come and go, but the property owner who is bringing in these mobile food cart businesses and leasing or whatever the financial arrangement is prepared for up to a certain number of food vendors.
Yeah, you're describing the pod situation. And that was the desire, is to create a location where there could be multiple food carts that we've seen in other cities. Portland is a great example. And they wouldn't have to go through individual approval processes for every time there was some change, that the actual land use would be established as a facility to house those kinds of uses, and it would make it easier for them to be established.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any further questions? So I have one person signed up, and that would be Mr. Barker. Do you want to come on down? And if you could just start with your name and city of residence for the record.
Alan Barker, City of Kaiser. And what I had to speak about today really wasn't in relation to what you guys are doing business with today. It was more along the idea of about a month and a half ago, we had a couple of people coming in and doing a testimony regarding some of the disagreements between the neighborhoods in a neighborhood. It was on the idea of the inclusivity resolution idea.
Oh, that's a different topic.
Yes,
So
that's what I
could
want.
if we're going to have that conversation, we could probably revisit under public testimony?
Yeah.
This was, you signed up for this particular hearing.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
misplaced
So
it.
I'm going to put you on pause, and we'll circle back.
Yep.
All right. Is there anybody who wants to speak to this issue? All right, seeing none. Close the public hearing. Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance amending Kaiser Development Code regarding Section 2.107 Mixed Use, Section 2.109 Commercial Retail, Section 2.112 Commercial General, Section 2.113 Industrial Business Park, Section 2.114 General Industrial, Section 2.116 Public, Section 2.119 General Employment, Section 2.308 Signs, and Section 2.434 Mobile Food Vendors, amending Ordinance 98-389.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance to the Kaiser Development Code. And I'm going to forego the reading of the entire title unless there's an objection. Discussion. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. Okay, second ordinance. Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance adopting the mobile food vendor permit process.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance adopting the mobile food vendor permit process. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. So with the concurrence of council, I'd like to circle back to public testimony to allow Mr. Barker to speak on the issue that he wanted to address tonight. There is no objection. Come on down.
Thank you. City Council, Mayor, about a month or so ago, it came up with the idea of this inclusivity resolution, which is an idea that is really kind of being sparked all over the United States right now, and it's kind of post-election. I did some research on it, and one thing I'd like you to take a look at and just be aware of that one of the sources for the resolution that's being sort of a template is actually from the innovationlawlab.org. And it typically is more geared towards the immigration policy of this last election. In opposition to it, I think it's something that you need to be aware of, that if you're going to follow this inclusivity resolution idea, that you stay away from that side of the issue. You can have an inclusivity resolution which covers all kinds of things, regardless whether it happens to be sexual orientation or anything else, but you're going to want to stay away from the issues that are, national or federal in nature. I think that if you touch on that subject, you're going to be in violation of your oath of office. When you took an oath to be here on the City Council, to obey the laws of the city, state, and nation, and our Constitution, I think you could, run a risk of that. So just be aware that if you're going to entertain this kind of a resolution of inclusivity, that you stay away from that side of the issue. We've got a lot of, some federal funds that could be at risk here. Other than that, I want to circle back to the Kaiser Eclipse. CERT has already told several of us that they expect about 500,000 people in Marion County. 500,000 people on that day. And as you suggested, let me just enforce the idea and bring to everybody's attention that you're going to want to have gasoline. You're going to want to have all your supplies like about a week or two in advance, because folks, it's going to get crowded here. They expect, 100,000 extra people in Kaiser during that period of time? Could be.
That's up to Copeland to figure out.
Coons.
It's going to get crowded, and you're going to want to have everything you need because the grocery stores are going to be busy. They may not have what you want to pick up, gasoline, everything like that. And there's CERT telling us they've done modeling of all kinds of scenarios and so forth about crowds, where the crowds are going to be watching it, and it could be a real handful around here. So let me just, enforce that as well. I think that we're going to have a great event at Kaiser Rapids Park. We have the possibility of 170 different spaces out there, could possibly double in size if they're tent sites rather than RV sites, and it should be a good event. So.
Thank you very much. I'm put you on pause for a second. Final score, 13-1.
Yeah.
Go Beavs.
Go Beavs.
I'd like to circle back to the first topic you raised, which was also the letter that I read into the record 2 weeks ago was also printed in the Kaiser Times. And one of the things that I asked the group, many of whom were signers on the second letter, when they came originally, was to go back and think about the application to a city. What are the action steps? And I'm a volunteer mayor of a mid-sized city. And what I tell people is, I can't afford ideology. I need action. And what I wanted to call out was in their letter, there were some action steps that we could actually start looking at, because while there are federal and state issues, there are things within our own community where we can look at ourselves and how can we do things better? Are there opportunities for us to have in-depth conversations with maybe neighbors we don't know all that well or haven't connected with? So what I'm looking for myself in moving forward with conversations, a community conversation on inclusion, on community connectivity, and one of our council goals, which is community engagement, is to look at those practical application action steps. Because while we're a wonderful community, I raised my family here, I love Kaiser, but is it perfect? No. I don't think anybody would say this is the ideal community in all aspects. Well, maybe somebody would, but in reality, there's always an opportunity when you have human beings to find ways to connect better. And from speaking only for myself, one of the goals with the community engagement would be to find out, are there opportunities here that we as a community can engage in? So I appreciate you bringing up the federal and state, but we did take an oath of office to uphold the Constitution of the country and the state, but I see opportunity to continue to make Kaiser a more inclusive and even a stronger community.
Yeah, and may I address that as well? You know, I think too we should, you know, we've already addressed the concept of our homeless situations in our area. And we're talking about a multi-county organization to help with that. And a homeless situation that we have here and the housing situations we have here. And yet we have a tremendous amount of veterans who are still not being addressed on both their housing, both their homeless activities, and their health care. And I want to make sure that we still maintain, you know, that as a focus first, rather than worry about the immigration side or the illegal immigration side of what we have that may address that side. So I feel we should be taking care of the folks that we have here first before we stretch out and try to address things outside of our community. And I agree that we have maybe a few issues here that have popped up now and then. I think that Kaiser is a great place to live. I think that those issues are far and few between, but they do exist. And it's going to be interesting to see how it goes forward, and I think that it's going to be successful.
Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This whole inclusivity that I read, the material I read, was talking about anything different that state law has. They're not going above that or changing it. They're just and I don't understand I agree with you on the veterans, and I get that. And I don't think it's an issue of putting the veterans against the illegal immigrants, like you put it. I think that we're talking about inclusivity of everybody in our community. I've been here 40 years. I didn't just move in here last 5, 10 years. I've been here for a long time. And I have seen a lot of incidents. I know that, and I think you're very fortunate that you have the ability not to experience those incidents. But those of us that do experience them, we like to think that our community is welcoming and doesn't have that. I was an employee for the city at one time, and driving a city van, people would yell at me, wetback, and they'd call the city. Bill can even answer that. They'd call them and tell me that I'd flip them off. I would flip somebody off in a city van. You don't understand what I'm talking about, because there's so many incidents that happen. Me as a city worker had probably more incidents than you probably experienced in your lifetime. And I think a lot of the issue involves how we treat people. Nothing to do with immigration or illegals or treating the veterans. We all agree on veterans. We all that. I come from a family of veterans, and I work hard for homeless veterans. I have green lights in my house. I support them completely. But I don't want to see it compared to one or them, like they do in the talk shows. You know, we don't take care of our veterans. We're taking early. That has nothing to do with the issue. The issue is having a community that is open arms to anybody.
That's right.
That's
And
what,
one-
that's
and-
what the basis of this is, and it's gonna go into action, because they're proposing putting a group together of people of different communities that can help.
Right. I only
and then-
addressed
and
that
then solve any
issue.
problems that we see, and
I only addressed this particular one because this particular one only addresses the immigration issue. And in essence, what the inclusivity resolution has been in many different cities on the West Coast and throughout the nation includes a variety of not just immigrants, but whether it be sexual orientation or gender bias, as we want to call it, or anything else. You want to be careful if you put a label on anything, because if you label something, you're going to cause more divisiveness. And I think that if we don't put a label on something, but we just include the idea that we're talking about in the first place, it's going to work. If you label something specifically, then you're going to get divisiveness between any different organization or group of people or anything else. And that's my concern. If you keep the list type away from it and keep the, how do I say this? The concept of being inclusive should not be a political phrase meaning something else.
I agree.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so if you keep the list side out of it, which
What do you mean
this
list side?
did.
What does that mean?
Well,
Including
this-
gays, and,
this
is that what
particular-
you're saying?
Well, yeah, because
Say it.
we can address all that kind of stuff separately without calling specific attention to it. We can still address the issue. We don't have to say specifically gays or gay rights or anything like that. Calling it a specific name for making a list of an organization or anything like that is going to cause divisiveness.
We're trying to eliminate divisiveness. We're trying to have
Exactly.
opening. I
And
think
so,
that we're
I think
on two different
the
issues here.
idea of, I was just trying to draw attention to this particular one as an idea that we want to stay away from.
Well, and I'm going to reel back. When they first came with their resolution that they had passed at their union for the school district, it was clear that that worked for them, but my request of them was to go back and think of it from a city point of view. What does this mean in terms of action for a city, for building community? So we've taken the next step, I believe, in the conversation, because they came back with something that was much more honed in on cities, and that allows us to have the conversation on two things. One, it's kind of like another issue. This is not an either or, because veterans are members of our community. This is the and. Inclusion is an and. So we have all of us who have different roles and different things going on in our lives, but we are a community of and, not or. And how do we strengthen the and is what I believe that our community conversation, community engagement is going to do for us as a community. And as a result, I believe it will be a stronger community going into the future. Addressing some of the specific issues that the organization that you are citing, that might be what they're doing. But the focus that we have talked about in our council goal is community engagement, and it is much more tailored to who Kaiser is and who we want to become. Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You took my great word. I wrote it down when you were speaking before you said it, when that was divisiveness. And I think I caution and am concerned about creating a divisiveness and perpetuating the political discussion and making it a political thing, when I think very strongly that there's a fine line between keeping a safe community and at the same time what our role is as government. And I did do a little bit of looking up because I wasn't familiar with it. And there are several cities who the councilors have been sued, and there are several cities where they've been asked to be removed from their council because that wasn't there's a fine line there about what government does. We're policy, we're procedure. There needs to be probably more discussion on that. I think community engagement, there's a lot of opportunities, and we've had a lot of great thoughts. We wanted to bring diversity in with the sports and do some great community. We have great community ideas, So not to downplay that, but I think there's a very fine line between our job in government and perpetuating the issues that are a national political issue.
Exactly. Kaiser's its own community. We have a community that we appreciate right here. We have our own flavor. And I just encourage you to adopt everything as you normally have in considering things as to Kaiser's flavor. And to be careful of things like this. Okay? That's my point.
Okay. Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to go on now to item 8A, under administrative action, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Kaiser and the Salem-Kaiser School District 24J. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney?
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor and Council. You may remember there had been a discussion about the Salem-Kaiser School District's fiber project, in which they have a grant called the E-rate program through the federal government to put telecommunication fiber optics between all their school facilities, administration facilities. That is a $15 million project, of which the federal grant pays approximately 80%. To do so, they need to run fiber optics in the right-of-way, just like a regular telecommunication provider like Comcast would, or the telephone companies. Although it's obviously not the same thing, they do not gain revenue from it. Usually we have franchise fees that are based on revenues for the private providers. In this particular case, not only will they not be, it's for their own communication purposes, but they're forbidden to by the grant requirements. And so they've been working with the city of Salem and reached an agreement to do so, to intergovernmental agreement. Let me get the title of it. It just says intergovernmental agreement. It doesn't have a lot of title to it, does it? Anyway, it's similar to a franchise agreement except for the money part of it. And so, but there is some staff time and work in the right-of-way. We requested them to raise the annual amount that they would pay, and they agreed to that, so they would pay us $4,000 per year for that, and that's the figure you see in there. It could be up to 20 years. It's a 10-year plus 2 5-year renewals. We base this agreement in most part on the Salem agreement that they reached with the city of Salem, that Salem's now entered into. And they really would like to move forward with this project, as they're under a pretty tight timeline. So it's before you tonight for a resolution to authorize the city manager to sign that intergovernmental agreement, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of staff? Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017, authorizing the city manager to sign an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Kaiser and the Salem-Kaiser School District 24J.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017, authorizing the city manager to sign the intergovernmental agreement between the city of Kaiser and Salem-Kaiser School District 24J. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. That takes us to item 8B, a resolution supporting the Kaiser Public Arts Commission Story Pole Project. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Brown?
Well, you've already heard an explanation of the project. It's basically to authorize our endorsement of, I have to be careful of the words, because we are not the ones applying for the grant, but we are endorsing it. We are participating in the project, and so what you have before you then is a resolution. Sorry. Resolution. Well, there's so many options. Basically authorizing us to participate in that project. So be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017, supporting the Kaiser Public Arts Commission Story Pole Project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017, supporting the Kaiser Public Arts Commission Story Pole Project. And this is a Story Pole Project. And it was recommended that if anybody wants to speak to this, could do so. Was it this item? I lost my notes here somewhere. Anyway, we heard a great explanation from Lori Christopher on this project. And there were a couple of things she mentioned that needed to happen, and both of these are embedded in the same resolution in case anybody's keeping track on who's watching. So this does both allow us to, we're authorizing the project and we are designating the space out in front of the Civic Center as an art location. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. Item 8C, a resolution authorization for the supplemental budget interfund loan from Transportation Improvement Fund to Water Facility Fund. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Chris. Madam Mayor, City Council, when the 2016-17 budget was adopted, the Water Facility Fund had a $100,000 loan listed as one of the resources. At this point, or at the time the budget was adopted, it was not identified if that would be an internal or an external loan. At this point, I would like to recommend that it would be an internal loan, a interfund borrowing from the Transportation Improvement Fund. So with this budget adjustment, we would be realigning the borrowings to a transfer in from the Transportation Improvement Fund to the Water Facility Fund. And with that, if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Wood? And maybe you have been here. What is the expected return or repayment? Time
The
period?
repayment, it's up to a 10-year loan period, but we'll probably be paying it back within the next 3.
Okay. And the project that those funds would go for eventually will be the on-ramp to I-5? Is that the same fund?
Yes, that is the same fund for where we would be borrowing the money from, yes.
Okay, and then that's not planned to actually happen this year, so there's no,
Or any year that we know of yet.
yeah, of ODOT, the Oregon Department of
There
Transportation
is definitely a
hasn't come back.
long-term horizon for that.
Okay, so they're not anticipating in the next few years, so these funds can easily be put back?
That is correct.
Okay. And when they say go, we'll find a way to do it. All right, any other questions? Okay, did we do the motion? I am really tired.
No.
Okay, so would, Council President Parsons?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017, authorization for the supplemental budget interfund loan from the Transportation Improvement Fund to the Water Facility Fund.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017, authorization for supplemental budget interfund loan from Transportation Improvement Fund to the Water Facility Fund. Further discussion. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you. This may be a silly question, but is there an interest on that that's repaid back to the, I know it's all within the city budget, so it might not make sense to do that, but is that maybe required by law?
That's a good question. Yes, it is required to pay back interest. With the interfund loans, they're typically at the state, the Oregon State Treasury rate, which is currently 1.3%. If we were to go to a bank, it would probably be 4 to 6% rate. So the fund itself, the Water Facility Fund, is saving itself about $4,000 or $5,000 a year.
Sure, but it is required to do a.
That is correct.
Too bad since we're loaning it to ourselves, so. Okay, I just was curious on the law. Thank you so much.
All right. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. That takes us to item 8D, an ordinance and a resolution regulating parking and establishing enforcement procedures, repealing ordinances 2005-535, 2014-708, and 2017-769, and then the resolution establishing the administrative fee relating to parking violation impounds. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor and Council. You might remember this matter came before Council in April, and you adopted some amendments to that, but wanted staff to work on some other items in there. So we did so. We changed the definition of highway to include private alleys and access easements. We've had some problems with parking in fire lanes and areas that aren't truly fire lanes, but still would be a difficult area to park in that we have some problems with. And Then the other change was on the fine amounts. You might remember there was only one fine amount that we needed to get changed was $500, and there was no upper, lower, or middle. It's just was $500. The PD staff has worked with the code enforcement officer. The recommendation is for a minimum fine of $20, a presumptive fine, which would be the fine amount if you just pay it, of $35, and then a maximum fine of $500. In addition to that, we have a resolution to tie in with the fact that there is a section in there for impounds for parking, certain parking violations. There's an administrative fee connected with getting your car back in the impounds, and so we set fees by resolution. And this is the part of the agenda where we would want to take any comments, if there was any comments with regard to the fees. And for council's information, some of you may not know this, some of you may, in terms of fee increases. State statute requires not necessarily a public hearing, but an opportunity for public comment if there's any fee, imposition of fees. And this isn't the fine part now, that's a ticket, that's different. The administration fee if we impound a car. What we do usually is a little beyond the requirement. We usually try to put fees together for, once or twice a year, try to lump them together to save money on public notice, and we do a public hearing, which is not required by statute, but we usually do that, so it seems fair to get the notice out. In this particular minor matter, we didn't bother with the public notice. That's not required, but it is an opportunity. I don't believe, unless the newspaper wants to testify, Madam Mayor, that we have anybody to comment on that, but that's the opportunity for tonight. And that was a part of the staff report there. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. Shannon, I know an issue seemed to have really cropped up in Portland with respect to recreational vehicles and so forth, parking at length, and the challenges to the police department up there and so forth. Does this kind of get to address that issue here in Kaiser?
Oh, I'm trying to remember, and we did not try to redline this version, by the way, because it became just impossible, because there was two different amendments. It would have looked like a huge rainbow that really wouldn't have made any sense to you. But my recollection is we already have that, and I don't think we made any changes to that. What it says is most vehicles are 72 hours. You can only park 72 hours. There is a permit process for RVs. If you want to apply and come in and get a permit, you can do so. It is limited to 20 days in any 90-day period, and you can only get 3 permits in any 12-month period. So you could apply for those permits, but normally if you don't get a permit, it's 72 hours.
That's on-street.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about off-street?
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about on-street where where they have had basically homeless folks set up their camps at different varying areas.
Right. And that, except for those time periods that I mentioned, that would be the requirement. They couldn't go beyond those time limits.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And this doesn't address that issue with the RVs and the 72 hours and playing the move the car game and then park it again.
It doesn't change it.
Right.
No, that was already in the ordinance.
Yeah.
But it is in this ordinance, yes.
Okay. Any further questions? Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance regulating parking and establishing enforcement procedures, repealing ordinances 2005-535, 2014-708, and 2017-769.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance 2017 regulating parking and establishing enforcement procedures, repealing ordinances 2005-535, 2014-708, and 2017-769. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. Resolution. Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017, establishing administrative fee relating to the parking violation impounds.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2017, establishing administrative fee relating to parking violation impounds. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. Item 8E, cancellation of July 3, 2017 City Council regular session. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, as you've probably already identified on the calendar, our first city council meeting in July falls on the 3rd of July, right before the 4th of July holiday. A number of you have already identified that you're fixing to be gone in that time period, so we are suggesting that we go ahead and cancel that meeting, and there's an actual cancellation of meeting procedure in your council rules procedures, and it provides for a procedure for you to do that, and it basically says, upon a majority vote of the members of city council present, a meeting may be canceled when deemed appropriate. The charter requires one regular meeting to be held each month, which will be satisfied. And notice of cancellation will then be posted on the bulletin board at City Hall, city's website, and other social media sites, distributed to members of the media and to known interested citizens. So we recommend City Council by motion cancel the July 3rd, 2017 regular session council meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? Council President Parsons, you want to put a motion on the table?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council cancel their July 3rd, 2017 City Council regular session meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council cancel the July 3rd, 2017 meeting. Well, council. I'm not doing that again. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. Everybody enjoyed that holiday. That takes us then to the consent calendar. Council President Parsons, do you want to read the items on the consent calendar tonight?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. There are 5 items on the consent calendar. 9A, resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase a 2017 Ford K8A all-wheel drive police interceptor vehicle for the police department. B, resolution is authorizing the mayor to enter into a municipal judge services contract with A. Carl Myers. C is a resolution authorizing the chief of police to enter into a lock and track usage agreement with Marion County. And D is approval of the May 15th regular session minutes. E, approval of the June 5th regular session minutes.
Thank you very much. Are there any polls? Seeing none, Council President Parsons.
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. Council liaison reports. Councilor Ryan, shall we start with you tonight?
You bet. Let's see, Madam Mayor. You heard from Lori Christopher for our art commission. That's really the highlight of what we're working on. There were working on several smaller projects. We meet tomorrow night, so I'll have an update next meeting. I met with the United Way today. We're really working on trying to get our Buckaroo Ball back in place for a fundraising event for our group, and I began working on the CASA board, not as a city liaison, but as a person, whatever you call that, independently. And so I'm very honored to be part of our CASA with our kids in Kaiser. And I did have the opportunity, I was a guest at the Marion County Public Safety Commission where Roland was introduced and approved. And I just want to say I think that it's a great addition representing Kaiser to that council, and we're lucky to have him there. I'm really excited for you, Roland. I think you're going to do a great job. So with that being said, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Freeman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This past week, we had the Traffic Safety Bikeways Pedestrian Committee meeting, and with the budget approval, those meetings will be televised beginning July, our July meeting. So I informed the committee, and they're very excited about that as well. We had the Volunteer Coordinating Committee on the 15th, and I just want to give a shout out to the committee members and then to the people applying, our community members applying for positions, and then also people that are currently serving on committees that are reapplying, and everyone's dedication. We had our public forum for the police fee on the 12th, and again, thank you to everyone that attended and all the public testimony. We do have a couple openings for volunteers, so I just want to make everyone aware of those. The Kaiser Points of Interest Committee, we still have one vacancy. This committee meets monthly on the 4th Thursdays at 6 p.m. We're still recruiting for youth liaisons. And then we also are recruiting for the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Development Partnership. And this is, the general purpose of this board is to identify regional community development priorities and facilitate regional intergovernmental coordination of development initiatives. So, and they are looking for someone to serve on that, and it's there's one vacancy, and it's a 4-year term, and it looks like it started in March of 2017 and is expiring February of 2021. So we are still looking to fill that opening. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Council President Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the Marion County breakfast last week with our Marion County commissioners. That's always a little fun time. We're meeting now every 2 weeks for the eclipse. It's kind of a check-in with people's duties and responsibilities. We've got volunteers coming our way, so we need to make sure we have things for them to do, and we just need to keep passing the word to get these campsites sold. But everything else is moving forward really well. I attended a planting tree ceremony, redwood tree, with Mayor Clark and Representative Post at Meadows Park. She planted the tree. We watched. It was quite nice. I also went to this special session police funding, and I also want to thank people for coming out. It was a great crowd and a lot of positive feedback in the room, and that was awesome. And you already heard the Planning Commission report, so that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, and congratulations to the mother of the bride. Thank you. Councilor Herrera.
Yes, as Councilor Ryan said, I attended the Marion County Public Safety Coordinating Commission, and that was my first meeting, and it was very interesting. I enjoyed the company. I'm pretty familiar with pretty much most of the people there, and I was excited and thankful for being on that committee. We had an important meeting with our last day of school last week. I met with Christy Snyder, who will be from the University of Oregon Athletics, who's going to be helping us next year for our fundraiser with Cal Club, the Leadership Club. So I'm pretty excited about that. I also am, our meeting with the police was pretty much unanimous support. I mean, you can, I'm pretty sure to say that our community supports our police, and that's with good reason. Also, tonight, Austin Bibbins Durix, our pitcher from Kaiser Little League, and McNary got another win today. So that's kind of, as we're here. And congratulations to Oregon State baseball team. And I'm a Duck, but you know what? I support our Beavers when they're out there, and I'm pretty excited for the Beavers there. Hard for me to say that, Jeff, but I mean that.
I'm not playing the Beavs.
Yeah, like I say, I want the Beavers to be second place in everything. But and also, the last thing I wanted to say, the point of interest, I will not be here for that, and I was wondering if somebody could cover for me. That's Thursday at 6 o'clock. So if somebody can step up and help me out, I will pay you back. I will bring you back something from my vacation. So that's pretty much it for me. Thank you very much. And
Okay, and the points of interest is this coming Thursday, the 22nd? Okay, 6 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
They had to bump it back because
Yeah.
they needed the room for this in the city center, so it's not till the 29th.
Okay. And I'm already booked that night. Anybody able to take that night? The Kaiser Points of Interest. Okay, we'll check with Councilor Reed. She will be back in town by then. We'll see if she's available. Okay. Thank you very much. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of things. First, just ditto to everybody's positive statements about the public hearing that we had June 12th here, and just the immense level of support in this community for our police. It's really was awesome to see that, and so I greatly appreciated everybody turning out for that. So thank you so much for that. I was not able to make it, but I do want to give some appreciation to former Councilor Mark Collier and his continued work and support for our Claggett Creek Watershed Council. He hosted the annual gathering, thank you gathering maybe, or board gathering at his house on the 14th. So thank you to Mark for that continued support. And then finally, I've got to laud our local dance studio, Classic Tap Dance, because they had an awesome, amazing, and I'm extremely biased recital last Saturday, since my daughter dances in that. And anyway, they just it's a great local business here that just has been around here for quite a long time. And my hat's off to Danny and Jane and the awesome, and as well as Liz and Renee for how they're a great presence in this community. Thank you.
We do have a very strong arts community throughout Kaiser, that's for sure. All right, thank you very much. Just a couple of things to add. A lot of the big things were already covered. So the Council of Governments Executive Board met a couple weeks, or gosh, it hasn't been that long, it was last week. And then the full board will be meeting on the 20th, and one of the items on the agenda will be talking about the position for the strategic plan, implementing the strategic plan for the homeless initiative. So that work has continued to go forward, but the conversation with the Council of Governments has also progressed. And this is even with the change in executive director. Sean O'Day is now the executive director for the Council of Governments, and we're delighted to have him on board and bring him up to speed on this and so many other great issues that we are working on here together in the Valley. I went to the Strategic Economic Development Corporation board meeting, as well as their monthly luncheon. And I think some of the really big things for us locally in terms of economic development is the continued development of Mill Creek. Those are family wage jobs. These are some big distribution centers. These are opportunities to bring more significant business that will have a good sustainable longevity in terms of employment and our economic foundation. So very happy to hear those developments continuing to move forward. I enjoyed planting the tree where everybody watched. Actually, I want to thank Robert Johnson and Bill Lawyer for coming out and helping. No, Robert actually dug the hole. Yeah, but getting that done, and more importantly, it's going to add to the grove that is going to be there going to the future. We lost a lot of trees out at the Meadows Park. We have a next generation of a diverse species growing out there that will be there for many, many years to come. And I guess it's supposed to get to be about 150 feet tall, so it's going to be very visible from River Road eventually. But right now, you got to pull over, walk into the park, and go, that's very cute. That's pretty much it. National Night Out. Deputy Chief Coons, I think you'll be talking about that in your reports, so just want to make sure people get registered. And I also want to give a shout out to Debbie Lockhart and all the members of the Kaiser Points of Interest. The poles that show the height of the floods that have occurred in the Kaiser area have now been installed, along with an interpretive kiosk. And Debbie and the committee were did some fabulous work on there. It's beautiful. Get out to the park and see it. It's amazing. You look at where those sit, way above the river, and the water was up that high during some of these major floods that have come through the Kaiser area. So thank you so much for the work that you did on that, and congratulations to the committee on another wonderful addition to the Kaiser Points of Interest. I will be speaking on Thursday to the Kaiser Rotary. They call it the State of the City. I'm going to call it an update on the State of the City. Things have not stayed the same since I gave the actual address, so it's going to kind of bring people up to speed on where we are now. The Volcanoes will be doing their patriotic tribute on July 4th. We're going to have some visitors from all over the country here to thank, honor, and salute the men and women who give so much to keep us safe and to protect the independence that we enjoy on a daily basis. And finally, the Marion County Fair is coming up July 6th through 9th. And so if you get a chance to go down there and celebrate the great agricultural and cultural features of Marion County, I encourage you to go down there and do so.
Madam Mayor, the band is Night Ranger on Saturday night.
All right.
Yes, seriously. I know you're excited, Chris. I can see he's excited.
Night
I-
Man, they're in the fair circuit?
Well,
Hey, you know,
they're quite a
gig is a
compilation.
gig, right? All right, so that's all I've got there. That takes us then to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I have to say that when the major bands you remember from your peak music genre, which was the 80s for me, start making minor fair events, it just hurts. It just hurts. So I'm going to internalize that, and I'm going to move on. Debbie, do you have
don't see
anything from
that.
your function? Tim? Deputy Chief Coons.
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor, and City Council. Just touch on a couple things real briefly. We lost one of our own last week when Lori Phillips, one of our police support specialists, moved on to Polk County. And I just like to publicly recognize Lori for the time that she spent serving the citizens of Kaiser, 22 plus years. And that's kind of a feather in our cap to know that she moved on to the Polk County Sheriff's Office to become a supervisor of their records unit. As you know, they're trying to rebuild after they passed their bond or levy and hired back all those deputies. So congratulations to Lori on a great career here in Kaiser. The second thing with the Kaiser Times here in the audience, I would just like to publicly mention Officer Martin Powell, who was recognized a week and a half, 2 weeks ago for the Kenneth Snook Drug Recognition Expert of 2016. It's really not of the year. They don't hand that award out every year. They only hand it out when one of the DREs is recognized to rising to that level. And I think that Eric did a great job with that article, and we appreciate him for that and recognizing the excellent folks that we have in our department. Quickly, Blast Camp is closed. It filled up in a matter of 3 days. It's one of the biggest hits that we have with the youth in the community. It's July 11th through the 14th at Whitaker. So I invite each of you to please stop by on one of those days. We don't need a reservation. If you just stop in, make yourself welcome, introduce yourself to the officers, and just watch the interaction that's occurring up there. It's amazing, and we would really like to try to expand that program sometime in the future. The mayor mentioned it, National Night Out, another big night for the Kaiser Police Department. Registration is open. Again, everything is up online. It's on our Facebook page and on our web page. Media release went out today. That's Tuesday, August the 1st, the first Tuesday of August every year. Our officers will be out. There will be 40 to 60 National Night Out events in Kaiser, and we look forward to going out and meeting with the public. And that's all I have tonight.
So if people want to sign up their National Night Out Party, where do they do that?
You can either go to the Facebook or to our webpage. There's a link. It'll take you right to the registration. Fill out the form. That'll go to our part-time community service officer, Dorothy Deal, and she will register you.
All right, fantastic. Looking forward to that.
Mr. Lawyer.
Nothing tonight, thanks, Chris.
Mr. Brown.
Nothing tonight.
Other lawyer. By title.
Nothing tonight. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Written communication, I did receive a letter. I'm sorry. Oh, Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry to jump in like this, but just while Deputy Chief Coons is here, I just wanted to tell him how much I appreciate maintaining information or keeping updated on all the stuff that's happening, just as things have been developing here and there and around our community. It's really good to know what's going on here, so thanks so much.
I thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Councilor Ryan.
I think I forgot one thing. I just wanted to remind everyone that Uber and Lyft are now in Salem Kaiser and operating. So please remember to use them, and especially if you've been out celebrating something fabulous like the Beaver win. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Under written communications, I received a letter from the Kaiser Fire District. It was dated May 16th. Received it just a few days ago from their board. It's regarding the proposed text amendment to the Kaiser Building Code regarding building zoning restriction overlay of Shamawa and River Road intersection, the proposed Safeway fueling station. The letter reads, Dear Mayor Clark and City Council, Kaiser City Council, the proposed fueling station at Safeway has us concerned. While they have conducted a limited traffic survey, traffic impact analysis, it glaringly omits the fact that there is a fire station across the street. They show crash data review in which entry points to Safeway exceed the critical crash rate onto River Road. Our fire chief provided testimony for the Kaiser Planning Commission on March 15th and again on April 12th to go on the record with our concerns. Safeway staff was going to provide a review of their proposal at our April board meeting, but canceled and asked for an extension with the Planning Commission on the proposal until after May 2017. The proposed text amendment was approved by the Planning Commission to go before the City Council for consideration. We remain adamant that this proposal is not in the best interest of the city. We must maintain our emergency response capability at all times, including both responding and returning to the station to maintain operational readiness. Please vote no on the proposed text amendment. On behalf of the Kaiser Fire District Board, Joe Van Meter, Board President. I know this isn't the public hearing yet on this issue, but I wanted to bring this up and see where we are in this conversation. Please.
So my suggestion would be, although it is a legislative proceeding, not quasi-judicial, in fairness to the participants, it's probably better not to discuss that this evening. It is scheduled for the second meeting in July for public hearing.
All right, thank you very much. So I will leave this for the record. That takes us then to agenda input. The July 3rd, 2017 regular session has been canceled. Next, we will have July 10th, 2017 work session. Do we have a topic yet? I don't believe we do. We have talked about possibly using that time to bring together a community engagement roundtable. The folks that brought the letter to us and other people are interested in initiating that conversation about inclusion and community engagement, and so maybe start to brainstorm topics that we would like to address. So that, I'd like to leave that open while we pursue that as a possible topic. Following that will be July 17. The City Council will meet in regular session at 7 p.m. Is there anything else for the good of the order? See none, then it is about 8:45, and we are adjourned.